us right there. But also, if you are watching us through the StarTimes decoder, we welcome you, and we encourage that really you sit and wait for whatever will be coming from all those discussions that we'll be deliberating on. Remember, we'll be hosting the State Minister for Land, Housing and Urban Development, that is in charge of urban development. We'll be discussing a lot of issues to do with the USMID programs. These USMID programs are set to expire by 31st of December 2023. And this is a World Bank grant, actual loan, that this country will be able to pay back. Remember, World Bank has been threatening that they will not be lending more loan to Uganda. So what does this mean? And these are the discussions we'll be having here in the second hour, the third hour of the show. That will be from 8 a.m. to be 10 minutes to 9 a.m. That will be the time we will be having this discussion. But first things first, Faris, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you, Frederick. Very good morning to you, our dear viewer. I'm called Faris Majid, as earlier introduced by Frederick Dramadri. Today is a Tuesday. I know the week is going in high speed now. Yesterday was Monday and today is Tuesday. I must say the week is running so fast. That goes back to you still. How are you faring with the plans you laid at the beginning of the year? Because the year is now coming to an end. After October, after August, we are going to enter the Mba month. Yeah. That is from September, October, November, December. That is the Mba month. So the Mba months, actually, that is where you need to be aware that the year is almost coming to an end now. That goes back to you. How have you laid? How are you fulfilling the plans that you laid at the beginning of the year? True. How are you faring with them? If you're not faring with all of them, at least what have you achieved? That still goes back to you. It means that there's still time. We still have a few days, a few months to the end of the year, so you can still do much. You shouldn't give up. So that goes back to you. But we are going to be doing a lot of discussions on the show, as Frederick told you earlier on. I believe there's a lot we are going to be discussing on the show today. All you need to do is just get yourself ready. Okay, yeah, let's dive into the issues of education. That is really something that is deteriorating in this region. We remember very well that the state minister for primary education, that is Dr. Joyce Muriku Kadushu, was in Moyo and really gave a lot of insights onto why the education sector is really limping around this kind of issues that we're seeing. We saw in some media houses that this message was relayed, that she really emphasized on the need for parents to take up the issues of educating their children so seriously. This is coming up from the support that is being given by parents to ensure that children go to school is really very, very wanting because of maybe so many issues that you may say, looking at the issues of poverty, looking at the issues of also neglect, and so on, and so many of them. But let's dive into a rural district where the support challenges and also the issues of infrastructure, how it is actually impacting on the learning and the completion rate of the learners in that district. But if you look at the rankings by Westnile Development Association, that is the umbrella organization for local governments in Westnile region, they ranked a rural district as number 7 with the low completion rate, looking at the 13 districts in this region, where a rural district was able to come up with 12% out of 100 where the completion rate stands. That means from P1, like if there were 100 children, then that means only 12 of them will be able to complete P7. Maybe Faris, what do you make of this kind of things that are happening in the districts? First of all, this is an issue that is not only happening in our district. Frederick, I can confirm to you. Madiakolo is facing the same, Marat is also facing the same. I believe it goes back to the people also. I do not want to blame the parents. The issue of lack of support, enough support I should say, because I cannot say support, because I believe the parents are doing their part. Because if they take their children to school, it means that they have supported their children, but then at times the support that is being given to these learners, I believe, is not enough. So it goes back to them. Also, it affects learning. We have seen this affecting learning, because what the children will need for learning If it's not there, then it is obvious that their learning process will be affected. Talk about the different scholastic materials, the books, the pens. At times you find a child going back to school. You remember how we used to go in P1, they cut the book halfway. But nowadays this is not there, but now the books are becoming expensive. Most of the parents cannot afford to buy enough books for their learners. So this goes back to the learners also, it affects them.
But of course, by that time, books were at 50
yes,
shillings.
Books were 50 shillings. But then now if you are going to buy a book, it is around 400, 500, a whole book. So it affects learning, as most parents cannot afford to buy these books. And if you look at it, you will find out that there are so many, our parents still produce several children. They produce a number of children, and all these children will have to go to school.
Okay, maybe as a parent, how would you really prioritize the education of your children? Looking at all those expenses that you have as the head of the family.
First of all,
for a family, I believe it is like an institution. So you have a budget for everything that you'll be able to do. Maybe Faris, how would you advise a parent in planning for his family needs?
First of all, it's now time for our parents to start understanding. It's not necessarily you having those many children. We need to start planning now. We need to have a number of children that we can afford. Frederick, we are still living in a society that many people are still taking it prestigious to have several children, and of which we cannot afford this to cater for all these children sufficiently. So at the end of the day, it affects the learning process of the children. So if you move to the villages, Frederick, you can confirm this. A family having 6 children and all these children will have to go to school. How it's going to affect their learning? The parent cannot afford to cater for these children sufficiently. Frederick, you know this. You have been to these villages, you know. One person having more than 2 wives, and at least these 2 wives are producing more than 10 children. You know how it is affecting learning. If you move these children, and these children, if you look at the kind of life they're going through, these children will have to walk long distances, bare feet, with clothes that are patched. So it really goes back to the parents to also look at it that they take care of these children. If you look at the high number of teenage pregnancies today, one factor that has actually been contributing to it is the limited support given to this girl child. So it affects the learning process. Frederick, we have seen this. Because a person that is not having enough support will always be thinking about different things. If you move to the central, where I think the economy is okay, where the children are okay, it is not like our case here. The completion rates are not like how they are in our districts here. This issue is not only in our district, it's affecting the entire West Nile sub-region.
True.
If you move to Madiokolo, you will look at, if you go to the schools, Frederick, you will tell how many children are walking long distances to come to these schools. And most of them are walking bare feet. Because of hunger, sometimes they go home when there's nothing to eat. And these children will have to go back to school. So how it's going to affect their learning? They're not going to concentrate. Because the hungry mind cannot concentrate, trust me, because your mind will be divided.
Basically, that's why sometimes you find cases of children falling from trees.
Just because they are looking
for fruits to eat at maybe break time or lunch time. Yes.
So it is going to affect their learning. And the lack of limited support, sometimes you cannot blame our parents, Frederick. This is a region that is still very much poor, just like other regions. But other regions, to me, are doing very well just because they understand what they are supposed to be doing. It goes also back to the learners. You do not only have to rely on what you need. Sometimes you need to give up on what you need. You need to concentrate on school. Frederick, our learners, you can tell the kind of learners we have in this region. I've been to those other regions. Trust me, the way children go to school is not like how it is here. Right now, if you move, you will find school children loitering around. This is not the same case in other places. This is not the same case in Central. And yet, at the end of the day, we are going to be sitting for the same exams. And these are the people we are going to be competing with. And when the results come, people will always run and compare those results of this region and results of the other regions. You will find out that our performances are very poor. Our performances are not pleasing. So it goes back to the learners also. It is time now. We need to concentrate and understand what you want from the school. Maybe at the end of the day, we shall be able to improve on the results of this place, and then that will also help improve on the completion rate. Because one reason why people are still dropping out of school is maybe because of the poor results at the other stages of maybe P7, Senior 4. That is why we do not witness several of these learners getting to complete their studies.
Okay, first, if you go to the details of this assessment, you realize that most of the schools in the district have dilapidated structures. One thing that the stakeholders that really did that survey said was contributing so much into the conveniency. I mean the stay of learners in class. First of all, you look at the infrastructure, looking at the buildings, looking at the furniture, looking at all those aspects. Like most of the classes from P1 to P3, they sit on the floor. Two, if you move to some of the classes where children are sitting on desks, the desks, some of them are broken. There are somewhere children are sitting like 7 on a desk. Somebody is peeping through the window to attend to the lessons. Those are some of the issues that have been raised there. Also look at the issues of teachers absenting themselves. Teachers are preferring going for meetings or workshops and so on, and maybe in a week you see the head teacher once in a while. So that is some of the issues that have been raised in that document that really clearly shows that there's a lot that government needed to do, but also we have the school management committees that are responsible for managing the assets of these schools. If we have desks that have been brought by government, what about you as the people who are there entrusted to manage these items? There's need for them to really have that maintenance plan by every school for them to really come up with good furniture for children to sit on. First of all, if you are sitting on the floor, it is hard for you to start writing. Sometimes also, as we who went through some of these systems, we don't expect this to happen in the modern era again. So those are things that were highlighted in that report. But also we have to expedite on really monitoring as district leaders. This is not only to Arua district, but we went to also Arua city where we're able to see a number of schools that are grappling with challenges of furniture, teachers using the same toilets with learners and so on. Those are the concerns that are there. Because now if a teacher is in the toilet and a child wants to also go to the toilet, that becomes like a conflict. For you to enter where your teacher is, it is a big sin. So where do you think the learners will really prioritize also going to such schools? But also looking at the issues of sanitary facilities, and also there are moments where the girls are experiencing their periods and so on. How will they really change their clothing and so on? How will they make them safe to be accommodated in these schools, in this kind of schools where we have only maybe one toilet, teachers are sharing it with learners and so on? Children will fear to come to school. So those are things we really need to consider, but also the support by parents to these learners. First of all, your child is your child. You need to draw a pie chart in your home. How do you spend your money? Because if you are not having the pie chart and you are not evaluating how you are spending your earnings, it is very, very unfortunate that you will not really balance whatever little you have for all the needs of the family. But also prioritizing the education of your children is very paramount for you to have a better future of your family. Maybe Faris, let's wind up this discussion on the
just to add on the issue of infrastructure. Frederick, the environment plays a great role in how learners will understand what they're learning in class. If the environment is not favorable, trust me, they will not be able to understand what is there, because they will be putting a lot of emphasis on looking at the infrastructure, and the infrastructure will not favor them. Because if you are in an environment that is not good, trust me, Frederick, it is very much going to affect how you understand and how you do your things. Take a look, you are sitting in a roof that is very old, and then the blocks are appearing, and the blocks appear to be like falling. Most of your emphasis is going to be looking at those things, not concentrating on class. And the teachers, trust me, once they come to these places, most of these teachers who are transferred, you may find one is transferred from a school that had better infrastructure to this one that is worse. Trust me, they will always have feelings, they will always have ideas about them, they will have that negative perception of this environment. So at the end of the day, it will affect the learners. You talked about the issue of sharing toilets. This is very miserable if it is happening. How are teachers going to be sharing toilets with the learners? what kind of respect will be there for these teachers? How will the teachers take themselves to be sharing toilets with the learners? So at the end of the day, you will find it will make work very difficult. And to the girl child who is already seeing their menstruation times, in case there is need, how are they going to be running to these places here? Because they're not going to be doing their cleaning from the classrooms. They will need private facilities. They will need an environment that will be suitable for them. So at the end of the day, if this environment is not there, we are going to be witnessing these learners moving away from school, coming back home in this guise of coming to clean themselves. They always have this as an excuse. And if they come home and they tell the parents, I'm facing this challenge, trust me, no parent is going to send the child back, because they understand the environment does not favor them. So it goes back to the government also to have a look at it, that the environments of these districts, of these schools in the district, are very much okay. They need the improvement. They need to be catered for. So at the end of the day, maybe we shall see an improvement in the results, and then see an improvement also in the completion rates of this district.
Okay, as stakeholders, let's join hands and also really make sure that we provide conducive learning environment for the children, but also look at the issues to do with I will say co-curricular activities that really keep children in school. If there are no playgrounds, if there are no maybe places for children to really have leisure time, it is very, very difficult for them to really stay in such a school, because those are some of the motivating factors for children to really prefer maybe moving to a school. Okay, let's leave the issues to do with the education there. Let's move to the issue of the Idi Amin Memorial Lecture that is there to commemorate and also ensure that the write-ups that were really there by different people who wrote articles, by those who were from abroad, who wrote a lot of articles about the late Idi Amin Dada, who came from KOKOLIRIKO district, really are supposed to be really re-emphasized. People needed to look at what was written about the president, but also the good things he did, but also changing the narrative of really the challenges and also his tenure, how he really did a lot of good things, also bad things about him. This is expected to be hosted by Muni University. Maybe Faris, you attended the press briefing about this memorial lecture. What really are the insights that the organizers are bringing up to ensure that really this memorial lecture is something beneficial for the people of this region who really grew up this late president?
First of all, to me, this is a good move, but which has taken long and has been delayed. Because Idi Amin, if you have interacted with people who lived during times of Idi Amin, they will always have different narrations. They will always have different issues that they will tell you. And if you move to the books are saying different things. The movies are showing different things. So I think it is time Westnile wakes up. And Frederick, most of these books actually have not been written by people from Westnile. Have not been written by people whom I believe were not close even to Idi Amin. So I think it is time Westnile wakes up and do this thing once and for all. Because there is need for rebranding of Idi Amin. Trust me, he did good things. He did several good things, which are always not talked of. What is talked of mostly is the negative part. Besides these positive contributions to this country, so I believe there's time the country also goes back and have a rebranding of Idi Amin. Because what this was saying is, they should need people who will come up and tell them more about Idi Amin. More so the subordinates who were there during the Idi Amin time. Some of these people are still there, though they may be elderly. They talked of people who lived during Idi Amin's time. So it is time these people come and tell the story, the exact story from first-hand information. Let them tell the world of who Idi Amin is. And now it is upon the West Nilers. We need writers from this region. We have so many educated people in this region to go back and compile the story so that we have a fair assessment of Idi Amin. Idi Amin, to me, was unfairly assessed. This is my own point of view. He was unfairly assessed, given the fact that most of the things talked about him are actually the negatives. Besides positive contributions, his positive contributions are rarely put out. You just hear them from the people who live, maybe the people who loved him, the people who miss him, his subordinates. These are this is when you get to know the good sides. But if you move to the write-ups, most of these things are there. They are in print format. They're on online. They are movies portrayed. They are movies taken to portray Idi Amin on a negative side. And I've never seen the positive sides of movies in which Idi Amin has been portrayed. If you have, show me, tell me, I'll go and watch the good sides of Idi Amin in movies. I want to see. I want that book that has the good sides of Idi Amin only. So I think it is timely, but to me which was delayed, but I believe these people who are behind the Idi Amin Memorial Lecture have a point. These people already did a dua in Bombo, which went successful.
Right.
Now they are coming for this Idi Amin Memorial Lecture, and they're also having plans to have memorial tours whereby they will move to Saudi Arabia, they will move to these countries, they will move to Libya where Idi Amin went, so that they get to know the burial sites of Idi Amin, so that they get to know where Idi Amin was exactly buried. So, and at the end of the day, maybe we shall have a fair assessment of Idi Amin. But I believe these people have a point, which to me has been delayed, because we have had so many people. If you are to look at the issue of Idi Amin, Frederick, you know it, you have been with other people. They will always, if you are from West Nile, and this is mostly about the stereotype that has been put out by some people. If you tell them you're from West Nile, the first image that comes to their mind is Idi Amin.
True.
You know, it comes back to their mind. If you tell somebody Yakakwa, even it happens here locally, if you tell somebody Yakakwa, the first image, the first person, the first personality that they will remember is always Idi Amin, because he's the biggest figure there. So I believe it goes back to the people to also have a look at it that Idi Amin is fairly assessed. Maybe at the end of the day we have a rebranding of him, so that the world does not get to know who I am, who Idi Amin on that negative side. This comes at a time, because you know the world, the European world is now saying Idi Amin. They are looking at Idi Amin from a negative, from a different perception, which is not what is portrayed in other formats. So I think it is time. We need to do a fair assessment of Idi Amin. We need to put out what exactly is there, because all the write-ups that are there will still continue to move on for a long period of time. Even our children will come back and find what was there. We were born before that time. It will come back, but now it will, if it is not done this way, if it's not fairly assessed, more of these write-ups will still come back, more of these write-ups will still continue to be the way they are. But if at all they are fairly assessed, at the end of the day, maybe our children will now come back and find a fair assessment of Idi Amin. That I think will help.
Okay, for those who do not know the late Idi Amin Dada, who ruled this country between the years of 1997 to
1971.
1971 to 1979, he really was the third president of this country that we are now under the leadership of the National Resistance Movement currently. So he was the third president, and he did a lot of things. He has been remembered for a number of things. One of these was the satellite at Ombachi. If you can remember that satellite, there are a lot of things that really Uganda was benefiting from that satellite. So it had a lot of contributions. We'll be streaming a lot of the channels from the European world through this satellite. They were also used by the security for really detecting crimes from far and within. So we have a lot of contributions that the president did, but also establishing the Islamic University of Uganda, but also the Uganda House that we continue to remember right now. Those are some of the contributions that we can bring to you right now. But there are many more that we feel if people are able to come for this kind of lecture and also bring out some of these issues, and also we document them, some of these can really add up to the legacy left by him, but also some of the plans that he had for this region and also the nation that we think were so developmental. If you are able to bring them out, that is where we can really say these are the things he did. But also, just like Faris you said, yes, I've not seen any movie portraying
the good side.
The good side,
yes.
At a time when he was launching some of these projects, I may say none of the media houses has really published any of these. I don't know if some of these projects were really launched.
Most of these projects, I personally have never come across them. This is the very first time we are going to be seeing a fair assessment of Idi Amin, because it's not the first time we are having a memorial lecture of Idi Amin. I think Makerere one time had the first. Now it's coming to West Nile. This is because West Nile is where Idi Amin is from. And we are all, as West Nilers know the kind of image, the kind of reception, the kind of attachment we have been given just because of Idi Amin. So it comes back to us to embrace this memorial lecture. You talked about Idi Amin's contributions. He has had contributions not only in Uganda, not only in Africa. He was a Pan-Africanist. He has had contributions all over the world. You talked about the Uganda House. This Uganda House, you find it in London. You find this in European countries. So he did that. He did that not because of his love for himself, but for the love of the country. So he loved Uganda at large. Because if you have to look at Idi Amin, Frederick, there's nothing that you will see that this is a property of Idi Amin today, that there's nothing you will identify for Idi Amin as this. Because if you have to look at the buildings, the homes, they have never been in that status. You would say this is a home of a former president. They have always remained dilapidated. They have remained the way they are. So I think it goes back to the policymakers also now to embrace this. We should not politicize it. Some people said this yesterday. We shouldn't politicize this. This is for West Nile. Why we are doing the memorial lecture, why they want to have that memorial lecture is because of the love and attachment they have been given just by the world due to the existence of Idi Amin. Because Idi Amin came from here. You remember how somebody was saying, if you talk, when this idea came first, when they wanted to have the Idi Amin memorial lecture, somebody was saying, is Idi Amin coming back? So that goes back to the fears. People still fear Idi Amin just because of the negative image he has been painted out there. Okay. So I think it is time we embrace this as West Nilers. Let's take advantage of it. When the time comes, once it is assured, because it is not confirmed, there are so many issues surrounding it, Frederick, I can confirm to you, but by the end of the week, I believe, it will be ready, it will be confirmed. This is concerning the issue of the venue now. Yeah. If it is confirmed, we as West Nilers all need to go and listen to the stories of Idi Amin. If you have something that you know, if you have somebody who was a subordinate to Idi Amin, somebody who lived during the times of Idi Amin and knows Idi Amin, let these people come out and tell the stories, because we are going to be having writers there. We are going to be having recordings that will be put on the different media platforms that will be there for many years to come now. So I believe it is time we as West Nilers embrace this idea of Idi Amin Memorial Lecture, because it does not only stop here. These people already had a memorial tour, which they did in Bombo, that went successful. So they're also planning to do one in Idi Amin's home, that is in Koboko. They also plan to do that. Then they will have memorial tours. And these people want to ensure that Idi Amin's legacy is not only kept behind, because he did his part, which we need to appreciate, which we need to all accept. So I think it is time also that we as West Nilers accept this idea and embrace it at once.
Okay, the Minister for ICT, Chris Baryomuzi, has confirmed his attendance to this event, but also we are going to see other dignitaries coming to really say a lot of motivational speeches on that day, but also we expect all our senior citizens within this region and also people who worked under the Idi Amin that time when he was really working as the president, to come up and also share their experiences and also how really he planned to develop this country. You may never know, a young president coming up will be able to learn from some of those experiences and also look at how to develop his political career within the lines. But also if you look at the budget that has been drafted, it's about 184 million Ugandan shillings. So that balance, once it is realized, we expect this to happen on the 1st of September 2023 in a place that is yet to be confirmed, but we are speculating a lot of venues, but we don't want to really discuss them right here. But let's take a break and we check whether our guest is around, and also we'll be able to bring to you the issues to do with USMID, whether we are within the time of December 31st.
Westnile TV, lighting up the region.
Good news from Star Times this school holiday. Upgrade your bouquet and stand a chance of winning third-term school fees from Star Times. Family content beautifully packaged to keep your children glued this school holiday. Jim Jam, Baby TV, Cartoon, CBBS, Toonami, NGW, and ST Kids. Simply upgrade or chigale no win school fees with Star Times promotion.
Watch the live draw on Makula TV Friday to Sunday at 8:50 p.m. Star starting 25th of August. For more details, upgrade to a stress-free holiday.
Westnile TV, lighting up the region.
Good news from Star Times this school holiday. Upgrade your bouquet and stand a chance of winning third-term school fees from Star Times. Family content beautifully packaged to keep your children glued this school holiday. Jim Jam, Baby TV, Cartoon, CBBS, Toonami, NGW, and ST Kids. Simply upgrade or chigale no win school fees with Star Times promotion.
Watch the live draw on Makula TV Friday to Sunday at 8:50 p.m. starting 25th of August. For more details, upgrade to a stress-free holiday.
Westnile TV, lighting up the region.
Right, welcome back from that commercial break. I earlier on informed you that we'll be discussing a lot of issues to do with the USMIT projects that we have here in Uganda that is running in most of the refugee hosting districts, but also we'll be discussing this with the State Minister for Urban Development, that is Honorable Obiga Mario Kania, who is now called Obiga Kania now. I don't
He's
know.
not called what?
Obiga Kania. He has scrapped off the name Mario. I don't know why. Maybe you have to bring us that.
Okay.
So Obiga, you're most welcome to
Thank you very much.
Westnile TV.
Thank you.
Yes, we have a lot of issues around USMIT projects that most of these districts have not yet really completed these projects that were launched within the stipulated times. Maybe let's first come to this. What is really wrong with these USMIT projects that have been implemented?
No, basically, there's nothing wrong with USMIT projects. But first of all, before I talk about USMIT, I want to thank Westnile TV for inviting me this morning for this interaction with the people and about the USMIT projects. But also, people tend to know us in our ministry as merely by USMID. USMID is a financing program. It's a financing program for a number of projects under the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development in the docket, which is urban development, that I had. So USMID is just one of the projects, and in USMID what we do is we get money from the World Bank. We negotiate through the Ministry of Finance, we conceive projects, we negotiate the funds from the World Bank, and in future from other financing bodies to help initially with the development of urban areas. That's why the name is called USMID, Uganda Support to Municipal Infrastructure Development. It was meant for the development of urban areas. But we also found out that the urban areas cannot be separated fully from the rural areas, particularly when you relate to refugee hosting areas. The refugee hosting areas, they attract a lot of people in the urban areas. And these impact on the capacity of the urban areas to deliver services like the use of good roads, health centers, community services like playing grounds, social service, social halls, and so forth. So our aim, once we have obtained the funds, we then get in touch with what we are calling the entities. The entities are these people or these organizations like the cities, the urban areas, and the refugee hosting districts. We ask them, where would you like to spend funds to a certain tune? And we give them a certain amount. We say, okay, we have secured so much money, and we would like to discuss projects with you. You propose them. Our technical people discuss on the basis of the needs of those areas. And once they have, and the capacity to implement them, then we send the money to the districts or to the urban areas and to the accounting officers of those entities. So as a ministry, we do not hold the money. We send them that money, and together with them, we then help to identify the contractors on competitive bidding. And once they've identified the contractors, and this is the most critical point, we insist you must identify contractors who are going to deliver. And we have very strict timelines. Although we have many times trying to extend them, we have very strict timelines we give to them. Now, a number of projects in the recent period have delayed in the implementation for a number of reasons. First of all, some of the reasons are beyond the control of the districts and the cities and the urban areas. Number one, there was the issue of the COVID. Many of the funds that we delivered were delivered in 2019, 2020, for them to finish in 12 months or thereabout. But COVID took the whole of 2019 and 2020. There was no movement of people. Many industries closed, and therefore the contractors could not obtain the consultants in time, and they could not obtain the materials that they required in time. We gave them extensions. After the extensions, within the contract, And actually, these extensions are not necessarily given by the ministry, but they are now contractual and they are given by the entities, what are calling the entities, the district and the engineers particularly in case of constructions. So, that is one issue that delayed them. The second issue was also the weather. In the last 1.5 years, the weather has been very unpredictable, particularly when it comes to issues of constructions. Some of the areas got flooded. So these are some of the issues which are beyond the control of the contractors, of the entities and the contractors. But some of the issues were the weaknesses in the institutions.
Okay.
First of all, many times when we contract out, there is what we call complaints period. And during that complaints period, other contractors who don't win, they come in. And there's a whole review of the process. And that takes time. And until that process is completed, we cannot release money because we do not know to whom the money should be released. But ultimately, the money is released. The third issue, which caused the delays, is the Finance Act, which was passed in the Ministry of, in Parliament in the Ministry of Finance. That act states that if funds have not been spent by the end of a financial year, which every year ends in June 30th, those funds are swept back to the Treasury. That means for anybody to acquire them, that person has got to start. That person has got to start the whole process again. We have to go to Parliament to get a supplementary, to vote the funds out again, and it takes time, a minimum of sometimes 3 to 4 months. All these adds to some of the delays. Therefore, there are quite a number of issues. The last one is conflicts on project affected persons. Most of our funds which we get from the World Bank, they are concessional funds. Part of it is credit, but part of this is also a debt to be paid back. But the condition of World Bank funds is that the government of Uganda is the one which should pay the compensation for the project affected people. What project affected people are people whose property, for example, if you are constructing a road, that road will pass through somebody's building, and you're going to destroy that building or that land. And you need that land for the project to continue. So some people resist. But this is a community project for you. It may be a small piece of land. And we've been asking many people in the cities and urban areas to say, please, this is a project for you. You offer that piece of land even if it is for free, because you are the ones who are going to gain. It's a community. And I'm happy that in many cities, including here in Arua, we have not had that, Arua city, we have not had that issue. In fact, the whole of West Nile, we have not had that issue of people resisting giving their piece of land. The final is the capacity of the selected people who are the contractors who are to perform the projects. As I said, the contractors are not selected by the Ministry of Lands and Urban Development. They are selected by the districts and urban areas. And I'm sorry to say there's too much personal interest. Too much personal interest overrides the quality of the contractors who are selected. But since the districts and the urban areas and the cities are entirely responsible for that, our hands are many times tied. We can't stop them. And once a contract is signed, that contractor has got obligations. So we are reduced to renegotiating the period with them to say, please make sure that you complete the project in time. So these are some of the issues, but I'm happy generally. Yes, in spite of these delays, I think most of our projects countrywide and including even here in West Nile region, they've done fairly well.
Okay. So I really didn't want to interfere with that, interact you when you are discussing those deliberate issues around the challenges, because a lot of the programs, the projects in this region have really been doing well, but except one district that is lagging behind, that is Madiokolo district, which received 11 billion Ugandan shillings. But looking at the progress of the projects, it has been somehow lagging behind. But currently, if you look at the status of their projects, they are doing somehow well, apart from one project, that is the resource center at Inte Town Council, which has still remained from that time up to the time when it was extended. So this is one thing we really need to understand from that point of view. But maybe you might have not known much about it. You will have to maybe dive much into understanding why that project particularly is not doing well in Madiokolo district. But also, our dear viewers, I want to inform you that Uganda, through this Ministry of Finance, borrowed a loan from World Bank to the tune of 335 million US dollars. That is an equivalent of 1.3 trillion Ugandan shillings as a loan to really finance these programs. And also there was an additional 25 million US dollars that was given as a grant, which is an equivalent of 92-point-something billion. So that is where we're talking from. And this was in 2018. This loan was expected to run up to 2023, 31st of December this year. So that's where we're coming up from. Now, World Bank is saying we are not going to lend any other loan to Uganda. And this is something that we are going to bring on this. If they are not giving more loan, what does it mean to the USMID projects that we are advocating for? There are more districts that have understood the operations of USMID, that have really seen that USMID is changing a lot of municipalities and districts, and now they are saying they really wanted to be in the next phase. And World Bank is saying we're not giving more money. Maybe what is this, the fate of these USMID projects?
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to assure people that the projects which are not performing in time, at the moment they've not been completed, will be completed. And in fact, I know quite a bit about some of them, and in the next 2 weeks, I'll spend a bit of time in West Nile, and I'll visit these projects unannounced. I don't intend to give dates to anybody. I'll go and get my briefings on the site, although I've already got some written reports from my technical staff. But I'm going down on the ground. I can't tell dates where I'll be tomorrow and so forth. I don't want to tell them. I want to find it as it is. Because some contractors are fond of, you know, when they hear a minister is coming, they shift equipment from one site to another. These are one of the mistakes we make. You have bid for a project. If you have a problem, I mean a contract, you have won it. If you have a problem, be honest, and we'll help you. But if you keep this business of shifting from one place to another, we will not accept that. Recently, I mean some time back, I went to a site, and everybody was dressed in fresh uniforms. They were very fresh wheelbarrows, very clean, and they've been brought in the morning. They said, we've been working for 3 months. 3 months on a wheelbarrow which has no maram on it. How can it be? Okay. I'm going, and you are right. By the 23rd, these projects must be completed. And by the way, the funds are already with the districts for these projects which we have. The funds are already with the district. Regarding any additional funds which the World Bank is not going to give to Uganda, that is a matter which Uganda is handling with the World Bank. And the World Bank, as I said, is just a funding agency. The improvement of these urban areas is already an institutionalized idea. So, if the World Bank, for whatever reason, thinks they cannot do it at all, and they cannot continue with us, the world is very, very large. The world is very, very large. But what we will not accept, I don't know what the conditions are, that we must not, we must accept certain things in our culture. The gay is law, we must accept. No, that cannot be. We cannot sell our values. If we are naked, but we are at our home, that's better. You are naked, you are seated at the door, at your door, you are a king. But if you get money and you sell your value for money, that is unacceptable. True. But we think World Bank is reasonable enough, and within a very short period of time, they should be able to understand Uganda's position that it is unnegotiable for money. And whoever will help us in this project of bettering our urban areas and the cities will be able to help us.
Okay, maybe there were issues around the developing the local engineering sector to take up some of these contracts. How far have we gone with building the capacity of our local contractors and also companies to locally continue with some of these projects, even if we are not going to hire more of these contractors from other countries?
For us as USMID and other the ministry, together with other ministries indeed, when a contractor has problems and he needs, for example, capacity building, our technical people are always available. And we have very good engineers, both in the private and those in the ministry who are willing to work with them. In fact, most of the consultants, we lend them to these contractors. But the biggest challenge is the honesty from the beginning of the contracting parties, particularly those who want to contract with the government. If they come out, we definitely have helped them, and many of them at a small scale have helped have done very well. But the biggest and the other issue is many times they want to take projects which are much bigger than their capacity. I know of a contractor whom the district gave 4 or 5 projects under USMID, and we had to tell them, no, you have to give some of these projects to other contractors because the contractor does not have the capacities. And we encourage many of our contractors, don't go alone. Where you know you can go with other people, these are your own brothers. You combine together, bid as a consortium. Because most of the foreign countries that come with the big capacity. And you can clearly see that they are better performers. So the only way for our people to grow is to accept their mistakes and be willing to learn. And they should be able to do that. Once they do that, we're home and dry. And I'm sure a number of them have learned it, but others I hope will catch up. Particularly in West Nile here, I would be extremely happy to see to it that many of our contractors have improved their capacity and they're performing very well and on time and good quality work. Thank you.
Okay, we saw a lot of things to do with local economic development, and this is one aspect that the ministers have been talking so much about, and also the government has been looking at this as one way of lifting up the districts and also the municipalities from really all the time waiting for things from the central government, and this one could be one of the leverages to that USMID projects. Maybe I asked a question about the fate of USMID projects. How do you think we'll be able to finance these project to continue for the rest of its life, to ensure that really we achieve the intended purposes and also look at the issues to do with the continuity of these projects?
Thank you. First of all, what is our reason for improving the quality of these municipalities, cities, and the refugee areas? We want them to be able to improve the capacity of their people to produce. If you have good roads, you'll have better markets. And these people will be able to bring their rural produce to the markets, to the markets in the city centers, and move them wherever they are. That will generate revenue. But secondly, and most important for the local administrators in the cities and in the municipalities, is local revenue connection. Local revenue connection. Wherever we have gone and where the services have been well done, the roads have been done, we insist on them. First of all, get the people to paint the houses as they are. Improve on them. Make it a condition that if they cannot paint them, there will be no licenses. Very few people are implementing this. Why? Secondly, appeal to the people, sensitize them about the issue of waste use. We no longer use waste collection, we say waste use. How best they can use waste, how best they can collect waste in one place, and encourage some people to use waste as a resource for production. In many countries, even in Kenya here, many countries, many companies have now taken over waste. Private companies, they invest in them. So generally our idea is that this should be able to increase the capacity of the local governments, the cities and urban areas to generate more revenue. Okay. But having said that, as I said, USMID is already a concept, and we're creating many cities. 14 more. We've already got about 10, and we're going to create 4 more every year. Because of this, government will continue to look for other sources of funding. So USMID is an idea. It's not World Bank USMID. No, USMID is an idea. Uganda Municipal, and in fact we're already changing the name, Uganda Cities and Municipals Infrastructure Development.
Okay. We've
also applied to the World Bank for another funding, and as I said, we are applied for about 750 million US dollars, and as I said, if the World Bank does not give, we shall apply elsewhere. And we shall also use our local revenue, local generated revenue. Uganda is generating revenue.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you talk about revenue generation, this is really direct to the urban authorities. How do you intend to maybe organize these cities that have been created, but also the municipalities that are mushrooming currently?
We are first of all insisting, and this is a must, soon we are going to get the benefit of cabinet. We've already passed what we call the National Physical Development Plan. That means every area must be developed. Must be planned. What do you want to do in a rural here? In what corner? Where do you want to put your sewage? Where do you want to put your schools? Where do you want to put your hospitals? Where do you want to put your recreations? Where do you want to put your hotels? This must be planned. And sooner or later, if you don't do a plan, we are going to get the agreement of finance. Your budget will not, through parliament, your budget will not be passed. That is the first way we're going to help them. The second way is enforcement of the physical development plan. Once we start enforcing the physical development plan, there's simply no way for somebody to avoid well-organized structures in the cities. And we're working together as a team with the Ministry of Local Government and with other construction companies and with the Ministry of Finance to make sure that these matters are handled. So the element of physical development plan, for which people don't talk much about urban development, it is one of the biggest things. We've got the cabinet, and we've got the regional development